Picture this. You're watching the news or you're reading an article and someone just told you that you need to downsize. So you think about it and then you start to actually price it out. And you realize once you pay for that place, the taxes, the fees, the assessments, you're going to be paying for more than what you have today and for less house. And not only that, their suggestion is to move into a condo that doesn't actually fit the lifestyle that you want. So you're sitting there thinking, that's crazy talk. And you know what? I agree. I say ignore what America is telling you to do today and do what's right for you. But I also want you to hear this. The day that you decide that you want to downsize, right size, upsize, age in place, there are 6 things that you need to ask yourself. I'm Weldon Hobbs, and I help you align your life and wealth goals with your real estate decisions so you can plan confidently and move forward without regret. Gently press that like and subscribe button, and let's get into it. So point number 1, let's start with what you're actually hearing because it's getting more prevalent every day. And a very common headline is boomers are sitting on all the housing inventory. If they would just sell, first-time home buyers could finally get into the housing market. So do your part, Mr. and Mrs. Boomer. Thanks. That's lunacy, okay? I think you know why. But we need to answer this first. What's underneath that argument? And it actually is rooted in data. Cerulli Associates, they project that about $124 trillion in household wealth, that's going to change in the next 20 years. It's going to change from baby boomers and older generations down to younger generations. And for a lot of families, the single biggest piece of that is the house itself. That transfer is going to happen. It will. With one exception throughout human history, there are 2 guarantees in life: death and taxes. And homes and wealth, those are going to transfer on those events alone. So the challenge here is plan that transfer on your terms, not because America says so, and not because the media says that if you just sell, it frees up inventory and lets first-time home buyers in. The media, they start to get into a conversation about the national housing market without regard to what you want in your life. Yes, I'm a real estate professional, but guess what? I'm a human being first. I'll argue every day that a person's life goals, they come first. And when the time comes to sell, then we're going to optimize that plan so that way they preserve the wealth that they need for the next chapter. And then we're going to work on a real estate strategy that complements those first life and wealth goals. America says to downsize, and I say don't listen to it. Nobody is owed your house. If you have a home that works for you and it fits your budget and lifestyle, then stay in it. There's no reason to change. But on the other side of the coin, if the home doesn't fit your budget or your lifestyle, those same 2 criteria, then do something about it. Again, upsize, right size, downsize, modify the home so you can stay in place. All 4 of those reasons are legitimate. And if your current home doesn't fit you, then ask why it doesn't fit. Because now, as you start to think about selling and moving into a new place, when you ask why, and you ask why again, and you get to that underlying thing that's just eating at you, that's the thing that you're trying to solve. You'll end up in a home that you won't regret. And if you don't answer that, then you will likely regret your decision because you might not have ever solved the thing that was eating at you. And if you're not sure which of those 4 buckets you're in, here's the next question. All right, point number 2. Does this house support your finances and your quality of life that you want in the second half of life? Let's use the condo as the example again, the one we talked about at the very beginning, because this is where the comparison usually goes wrong. People start comparing payment to a payment, and that is not the comparison to use. The comparison to use is the total monthly carry cost against the total monthly carry cost. Everything that it costs you to live there every month. Taxes, insurance, utilities, upkeep, whatever you pay somebody else in this case to help you out with, that way you could actually live there well. Don't forget about the fees or assessments, a new tax bill, and of course, whatever is left of a payment at today's rate. Think of it that way, and the smaller place doesn't always win. Sometimes it's not even close. Friends, we guide others through life and real estate strategy every single day. We have free guides, one-on-one guidance, no-cost connections to values-aligned real estate professionals, financial advisors, and loan officers. Folks that I have personally vetted and folks that are located across the country. And this is all in an effort to help you make the best decisions for you in your life. Check the caption below or scan the QR code that's on the screen, and I look forward to connecting with you. About 2/3 of homeowners over 65 own their homes free and clear. No payment whatsoever. And if that's you and the house is comfortable, the taxes and the insurance and the upkeep, that all fits inside your monthly budget without straining it, that is a good reason to stay. That is not stubbornness. That is math, literal math, working in your favor. But be honest with yourself about the other side of it. If the house has become a drain on your monthly budget, that's a data point. If it's become a drain on your mental bandwidth in terms of keeping up with it, or perhaps you want to be closer to the grandkids, or there's just something about the home or where you're at that's keeping you up on a Sunday night, that's information too. Maybe you've lost a spouse and there's just too many memories in it and it's just hard to be there. They've just gotten difficult. None of that makes you weak. It makes you a human being because life evolves. Life is an active sport. And where we're at right now may not serve and give us the best chance of success as far as how we want to live the life we want. If that's you, say it out loud. Say, I think I might need to make a change. You're allowed to say that. But when you do, you want to start planning purposefully and not just on a whim. Because there are a dozen ways that it can go wrong whenever you make this kind of change in the second half of life. All right, third point. If you've decided that you're staying and your budget supports it, look around the house and make sure it actually lets you age gracefully. Make sure it's not quietly preventing you from living the life that you want. Now, I said this in a previous video, and I'm going to keep saying it because I believe it to my core. And that is the day that you decide to stop moving is the day that you start dying. And if there are 3 stairs from the garage into the mudroom, and those, or just a step anywhere in your house, and you stop going into that room, you start letting that change your life. Look, the house is quietly starting to squeeze you because what happens next is you stop moving, either mentally or physically, but either one is going to take its toll. So 3 stairs, that might be a handrail to put in. 3 stairs might be a ramp. That's a small project compared to a move. So please be motivated to keep moving forward because if you don't, there are going to be unintended consequences and nobody wants that. But you first have to notice it. So think about your normal pathways and make sure that the house is retrofitted, changed in order to support you where you are at physically and mentally. All right, fourth. This is the one that's true no matter which path you pick, either to stay in the home or move forward. You have to take care of the house. If you stay and you keep deferring maintenance, you're going to carry that cost mentally, and then you're going to pay for it again later down the road. You know what needs to be addressed in your own home. It sits there and it takes up space in your head, and you never get the benefit of having it, that thing, that maintenance thing, whatever it is, done if you just keep kicking the can down the road. You paid for this house. It's a nest egg that creates future options for you. And you know what you need to do to take care of it. So when the day comes that you have to sell and you've deferred all this maintenance, you're going to pay for it, but you won't get paid for it. And I'll explain what I mean. The other way is true too. Let's just say that you pay for the upkeep along the way. This is the part that people get wrong. Maintenance is not an upgrade in price. Nobody pays extra because the roof is sound or that the furnace works. That is the baseline. Buyers expect it. You don't end up getting a return on deferred maintenance. What you get in a competitive market is a buyer subtracting it from your price. And it's usually more than it would have cost you to just do it. Now, selling as is a real strategy, and sometimes it's the right one. I made an entire video breaking down what it actually costs, and it's on the end screen of this video. But if you're selling or you're staying, keep this information in the back of your mind because it's going to come up later and it's better to understand it now than be surprised in the moment. All right, point 5. If you decided to stay, there's one more thing that's worth doing, and it has nothing to do with the house whatsoever or what it's worth. It's another tax. Everything around you takes up mental bandwidth. It sits in the background and it takes up room in your head that you could be using for something better. Now, I'm 100% biased here. We live in a pretty lean house ourselves, but the reason that I have this perspective is because I've watched what happens when someone finally gets through the declutter. It's almost like a literal weight that comes off of someone. And in the life, wealth, real estate sequence that I talk about, wealth can be used or drained in the form of knowledge, mental fog, time, money. So if you are staying in your home, declutter anyway. And of course, if you're leaving, definitely declutter. You need to do that just to make sure the house presents well, but you don't want to take everything to your next destination either. So get rid of some of that mental weight is what I'm saying. Not just to sell, but to live better in the house that you've already decided to keep. Okay, point number 6. When you really break down why people move, it comes down to a handful of life transitions, and I call them the Ds, and there are 12 of them. I first learned of these from a lady in Atlanta. Her name was Glenda Baker, and then I built more on top of them. But when you start thinking about it, it's diplomas, so graduations, diamonds, diapers, growing families, right? Divorce, death, downsizing, deployments or PCSs or military moves. Then you have dislocation, a forced move. So think hurricanes, tornadoes, natural disasters, that kind of thing. Then you have difficulties, which those might be financial or medical. You have direction in life. So that could be a career change or feeling called to go somewhere. Then you have diversification, which would be liquidation of rental portfolios. And then finally, number 12, that's dreams. So that's second home or someplace that you've always dreamed of living. Those are real transitions in life. And here's what I've learned watching them. The Ds, they rarely travel alone. You might view this as a downsizing video, but downsizing, it rarely shows up alone. Think of it this way. You could have had a loss of a spouse. And so you're downsizing because of the house has too many memories, or it's just too much to take care of. You could be downsizing because there's a difficulty, medical or financial or otherwise. You could be downsizing because of a divorce and the house is just too much. You can see how they travel together and it creates complexities for your situation. That's why these transitions are so difficult. You're not just thinking about one thing. And that's what we do. We help you figure out which D that you're actually dealing with. And then we help you plan out how to navigate that transition well and all the complexities that are with it. And if it's needed, we connect you with the values-aligned professionals to work through that transition objectively. Plan the life goal first. Optimize the plan for wealth, including which questions you should be asking your financial advisor, your CPA, your loan officer. Then we work on the last piece, which is the real estate, and we connect you to the right professional to handle that piece. This is the sequence that I've seen work 100 times and that I use with all of my clients. That's how you get through this life transition without regret. You make purposeful decisions instead of reacting to somebody else's timeline. The link to our free guides and connections to values-aligned professionals, they're in the description below. I'm Weldon Hobbs, and remember, good decisions, they start with good information, and I'll see you in the next one.